Welcome to Game 2 of Navi versus TongFu. This is the upper bracket, round 2. The loser here will drop down to the lower bracket. They'll still place in the top 8, or the top 6, I do believe. But TongFu are on the back foot. They've lost Game 1, and Navi, they were looking pretty good. We'll see if Navi goes for the pudge once more. TongFu decides not to ban out the pudge first, which they can probably get away with. They could still ban it out in the second round, and they may just kind of bank on the hope that Navi will not pick pudge again. It's always a toss-up. Navi will sometimes go for the same strategy twice in a row. Sometimes they'll try and mix it up. But regardless, I feel like Navi is in a pretty strong drafting position because there's just so many heroes that TongFu has to worry about. It's hard to analyze how TongFu can perform versus Navi because of that first game where they never got a foothold, and they didn't. I mean, their first gank onto Dendi didn't turn out. Navi just a little bit of luck on their part with an invis rune on Kuroki, and Puppy just happening to be there. Funnick, a good timing for him to show up with an arrow. So Navi walking out with the first blood and wasting a lot of time from TongFu supports. But Navi, I mean, I think even without the pudge, their strategy is to apply pressure across the map and force lots of TPs back and forth and create tons of farm for Havost, who showed up at like 20 minutes into the game, maybe not even that late. No, it was earlier than that. It was like 15 minutes in, and he just started throwing out the flat cannon in the middle of these fights and getting tons of kills because there's so much chaos, and it was so easy to pick off all of the supports. And the very underfarmed, I mean, TongFu was very underfarmed. I don't understand what happened with King J's Darkseer. Wasn't watching him for most of the game, and then I look at him at 14 minutes in, and he still doesn't have a mech. And TongFu needed that mech so badly. Some of those fights could have gone a lot better if King J had had better farm. So we'll see if TongFu can manage to pull off more farm for this Darkseer in this game. They'll go for something that they're hoping is a little more reliable and can deal with the aggression a little bit better in some ways. The anti-mage, I shouldn't say the aggression, can deal with the global pressure. Anti-mage has a very long range blink and he's very fast, so he's able to rotate around the map without too much opportunity cost. And Spectre, he can do that too. So I don't know how much more Anti-Mage is going to offer TongFu that Spectre did not, and Hao did a fine job on Spectre in that game. He took what he could get. He managed to find some kills despite perhaps diving a little too hard.
Navi's turn to pick.
So I don't think the carry was the weakness of TongFu, it was the rest of their picks that just did not pan out. And Navi did get their dream draft. Kuroki Rubik, Puppy Chen, Funnick on Marana. I mean, it was everything they could possibly ask for. So at the very least, TongFu gets rid of the Gyrocopter from the equation, as well as the Alchemist, which Navi does quite well. Foast plays a pretty good Alchemist, though he also says he doesn't like playing that either. So maybe he's happy to see Alchemist and Gyro banned. He says, I don't have to play those. Hurrah. It's interesting to me that Navi do ban out the Shadow Demon, simply because of how little the Shadow Demon did for TongFu in Game 1. It did. There were some defensive disruptions. It did delay some deaths, but it just didn't pan out. But it depends on what Navi plans to pick up for their 1 and 2 position, which they have yet to pick up. In the pool, it looks to be another Windrunner, so I think Navi's going to be doing the ancient stacking strat, which has worked out so well for them again and again. We'll see if TongFu tries to challenge it, but it just seems so hard to deal with.
Navi's turn to pick.
So Windrunner basically serves the same role as Mirana did in game 1. And Funnick, I mean, he landed some great arrows. Those arrows created a lot of opportunities for Navi, but Jackal can do much the same thing, and Windrunner is even a little better in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game than Mirana is. A little bit more survivable with the evasion, long-range power shots. Doesn't have to get in the middle of things quite the same way that Mirana does.
Reserve time.
TongFu will also, I mean, they're not denying a pick. Everybody likes Rubik, so it's not so much about blocking that from Navi, but Navi won't get that for Kuroki this time. But they've already got their Visage anyways, so that's not too much of a concern for Navi. That's going to be a Kuroki Visage. I'm trying to think what carries are still in the pool. Dragon Knight is still available. I really hope Navi doesn't go for it. Navi's greatest success always seems to be giving Dendi something higher impact than a Dragon Knight. It would fit into this lineup, but they go for the puck. Alright, more aggression,
TongFu's turn to pick.
more big plays. A great Dendi hero. So what will they go for with the carry? That's the question. TongFu need ways to deal with the dives from Navi, because right now this is a great diving lineup.
10 seconds remaining.
Which is what always, what Navi always goes for. But
5 seconds
Chen, Windrunner,
remaining.
Puck, all of these heroes can handle dives, and Visage can throw out the soul assumptions from long range. Doesn't have to get under the towers to help secure kills. Lots of damage, and no Shadow Demon available, which would be a nice defensive support for them. I think Vengeful Spirit. No, TongFu's not going to go for that. I'm trying to think like TongFu here, and it's not going to work. There's just too many heroes in the pool. My brain can't handle it. Whatever they pick up on Havost, he just needs to be able to fit into the mid game for Navi. Honestly, with the 4 picks that Navi has right now, they can create so much pressure wherever they want that they can pick something farm heavy and it'll still work for Havost. Wouldn't even be shocked to see them go for a Spectre here. Navi, that is.
10 seconds remaining.
TongFu clearly struggling. They go for a Dragon Knight who,
Navi's turn
I don't
to
know.
ban.
Decent versus Puck mid. I've seen this matchup a number of times, and Dragon Knight gets his farm. And the instant stun can be pretty good if you get good rotation from the supports on TongFu.
10 seconds remaining.
You can chain stun Puck down. It's possible.
5 seconds
Very
remaining.
reliable pick, and can be a little bit hard to dive.
Reserve time.
But it's a very standard pick. Very easy to know what the Dragon Knight's going to do and what you can expect from this Dragon Knight. Oh, and then TongFu bounds out the Spectre.
Navi's turn
They
to
think
pick.
as I do. Interesting to note that Naga is still in the pool. I don't think he's going to get picked by either team. Could be a pickup for TongFu. I think it wouldn't be a bad option. I like the Nyx Assassin ban more, simply because Nyx Assassin would be very, very frustrating for Chen, Windrunner. I mean, these are 4 intelligence heroes. The mana burn will be very
10
very
seconds
effective.
remaining.
Impale can be a great stun.
5 seconds remaining.
Nyx Assassin is a good rotation support. Naga Siren, not so much. The Ensnare is pretty
Reserve
decent,
time.
but you're
10
not setting up
seconds
for anything
remaining.
else. You're just creating time. I think Ensnare is best
5
used if you have
seconds
skill shots, and they
remaining.
go for an Ursa.
TongFu's turn
Ooh.
to pick.
An unexpected pick, and one that's very strong versus both Anti-Mage and Dragon Knight. As long as you have the stuns, which I think Navi do. And taking down Anti-Mage will be a bit of a challenge. You have to land the Shackle, and then you've got to get the Silence. But as far as Dragon Knight goes, it should be pretty easy to stay on top of him, and Avost will have a
10
decent
seconds
time.
remaining.
He's also going to get free farm down in that bottom lane.
5 seconds remaining.
We've been seeing more Ursa, and it's a very interesting... Didn't used to think that Ursa was interesting, and there's a Leshrac from TongFu. I think this is the second Leshrac pick that I've cast so far. It's another stun. It's a little bit of push.
Prepare for battle.
Works decently with Rubik, since you can set up for the split earth pretty easily. But it's also, I mean, it's easy to dive on the Leshrac. It's easy to outmaneuver him. And I think Leshrac works best when you've got momentum, where you can group up and work on towers, where you can team fight, because that's split earth is a large AoE it's a long duration stun. So if you're landing good split earths, then it can work really well. But I don't know that TongFu is going to be able to keep up with Navi's draft. That said, Ursa being a rather slow, lumbering melee carry,
30 seconds to battle.
can struggle closing in with TongFu, and that's going to make for easy split earths from the Leshrac. And in terms of the supports they could go for, it's not a bad one. We haven't seen a lot of Leshrac. I think just because there's been less focus on skill shot stuns as there used to be, and more priority placed onto supports like Visage,
The battle begins.
Rubik. Lots of Chen. So just other supports have been taking priority, but it's a decent pick. TongFu has a reliable draft. It's a very standard draft. It's easy to predict for Navi what they're going to do and how they're going to behave. And I think Navi, so long as they get a good start here, as long as their lanes go well, I think they're going to be able to be as aggressive as they clearly want to be. So we'll have Funix stacking up on the Ancients once more. It's an even more efficient... it's even easier to do with Windrunner than it is with Mirana, because Windrunner has higher base damage and a better attack animation. So we'll go quicker, and he'll be able to get more involved faster, but there will be no arrows flying mid to help out Dendi. We've got Dendi on Puck, facing off versus Moo on Dragon Knight. As mentioned before, Moo will find his farm. He's not going to get zoned out of lane by Dendi. But Dendi should win this lane slightly, and Moo, of course, will be forced to Bottle Crow endlessly. And Dendi is actually gone for, has he been pooled here? Yeah, he's been pooled regen by Puppy. Gone for the Null Talisman right at level 1, just so he gets more attack damage and can help harass Moo out of the lane. Puppy will be in the jungle once more, and there's not even any wards this time to slow him down, so he'll be able to get involved that much faster. Kuroki will be on Visage, doing some chain pulls. And Avost, down on the bottom lane, free farming as Ursa. He's gone for boots first. For TongFu, we've got Banana on the Leshrac. Hao is going to be on that anti-mage. Sansheng on Rubik. We can expect a lot of early rotation from these supports from TongFu, and they may try to challenge Funk's Ancient stacking. They're clearly thinking about it. It's also possible for them to gank Dendi. I think that's another reason they go for the Leshrac, is he's a good support in terms of rotating between lanes. Does Navi have vision of this? Yes, they do. He's got a ward right here. They know exactly where TongFu are. And there's a sentry placed here. I'm not sure what the purpose of this sentry is, or what they're looking for. Perhaps trying to make sure that there's no vision there from Navi, but Funix spots them out with a power shot, so this is going to be a lot of wasted time for the supports on TongFu, and it's not good for them to fall behind. That said, there is level 2 on Banana right now, and he's gotten Pulse Nova early. And with the DD on Sansheng, they can actually do a lot of work on this tower. But same thing for Navi down at bottom. Puppy pulling the creeps away with his Wild Ring Ripper. And it looks like Navi are actually doing more damage to this tower than TongFu are, and TongFu are they've got the Leshrac. So wow, 3-minute tower for Navi. Funix, easy rotation for him to pick up some of the experience and gold here from this lane, and he can help push it out with power shot. And there's an Ancient stack waiting for him whenever he wants to go back to it. I guess it's not really a stack if it's like half completed, but they're waiting for him. they're there. It's 13-3 on Dendi versus 15-2 on Mu, so he's doing a pretty good job. Constant bottle crow will help out with that. King J working away in the jungle. Hopefully he can get a mech faster in this game. Got his early soul ring. That'll really help with the constant ion shells he needs to be pumping out. Good levels so far for the supports on Navi. Pulling a little bit ahead of TongFu supports. Level 2 on the Strack and 3 on Rubik. So actually, not too bad for TongFu. But Puppy is doing some stacking here. He's going to be able to take a Wild Ring Ripper and chew through the stack pretty quickly. Funk's got his level 3. You can sort of compare him to King J, but they're not... Feels like a false comparison to me. Simply because Darkseer is always going to get so much farm out of the jungle, and it's more about the levels on Funnick. He's getting some gold. In terms of these free farmers, Vost, it's a little bit behind Hal. Another Pulse Nova. This is level 2 Pulse Nova now, so the top tier 1 will drop. But Host falls behind a little bit because of the early push on the tower.
Top tower has fallen.
Funnick does need to be careful. Up against an anti-mage, Windrunner does not have a particularly good time. She's very mana dependent. Windrunner costs 100 mana to use every time, and if he's actually Hal's gone for 2 points of mana break early on, and actually there's a Dream Coil used on the Hal, rotation from the rest of Navi. This is First Blood, picked up by Kuroki with the Soul Assumption. So good Dream Coil by Dendi, providing time for the supports to rotate from Navi. Yeah, Funnick does have to be careful up against Hal, especially with the 2 points of mana break. It's a more uncommon build that we might not often see, but indicates that he wants to get more, perhaps wants to get more involved. Or perhaps just knows that the extra point in mana break will really help him versus Windrunner. And are they doing it? Yes, they are. This is such an efficient way to keep Puck up in middle, and makes the Chen Puck combo so good. And again, Navi, they're the only team that I see doing this. Funnick, he's on the run from Hal a little bit, but Hal has dived the tower just a little too far.
Radiant's middle tower is under
So we'll have to stay in the trees for Navi. Invid is up on Havost. He's got 1 point up in Earthshock, 2. It's a 1-2-2 build here. I've seen a number of different builds from Ursa. It doesn't seem like there's any agreement on what the most efficient is. There's no sentries here for TongFu, so no notion that Havost is here, nor any vision of the rune when Havost picked it up. He's hoping that Mu will wander back into the lane, which is a possibility, but it seems like Havost has decided, no, I have wasted my time. I will go back to farming. One of the great things about Ursa is needs so little to actually get his farm really rolling. Does appear to be going for Vlad's. He's got the Basilius up already. But Fury Swipes is just super efficient for taking out jungle. Taking out anything really. Roche, heroes, it's all viable. Smoke here from TongFu. Sanchank and Banana would love to make something happen on Dendi. He's got the Dragon Tail. Is it coming from Mu? No, just can't quite get in range. Chases Dendi out of lane, and so no success here for the supports from TongFu, which really makes me feel like Navi's getting more out of the map right now. In all respects. There's level 6 on Kuroki right now, which 7 minutes in, that's pretty great.
Middle tower is under
Same thing
attack.
for Puppy. He's got his Hand of God available, which, I mean, that alone might be enough to save Dendi from such a gank. So that is a triple stun. Telekinesis, Split Earth, Dragon Tail. They can try to gank Havos, but he's got his phase already. And they really, I mean, I kind of feel like Havos would be the hero to gank. It's really the only one they can. Oh, the Dream Coil dropped onto Mu. Is there going to be any follow-up here from the rest of Navi? No. Dendi just chasing him out of lane. Which means Dendi is starting to pull ahead here. He's 46-10 versus 41-4 on Moo. So now starting to pull ahead and forces Moo all the way back to the base. And how does this happen? Havost gets a solo kill on Banana, the Leshrac down at bottom. He just chases him down. Banana steps out too far. Probably misses the split earth.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Things are looking dubious here for TongFu. A solo kill is not something you can give up to an Ursa. With the familiars up, and I imagine Puppy will be... his creeps are pretty low, so he's not able to keep them up. But as soon as Puppy's got his creeps, he could opt to use his Hand of God to keep them going. Oh, he's got the stack here. As soon as the mana's up on this Wildwing Ripper, he'll be able to tear through that stack, which he's probably looking forward to. 2-0, 9 minutes in, 0 gold and 0 experience. Actual difference between these two teams right now. There's a Grave Chill onto Moo. There's no Dream Coil yet available for 3 seconds. It's coming off a cooldown. Flame Breath onto Dendi. Drops the Dream Coil. The familiar stuns are keeping them in place. A max soul assumption from Kuroki onto Sansheng. Throws out one more orb on his way out. Ooh, nice shackle. No follow-up yet available though. So Navi jumping the gun just a little bit. If the Dream Coil had been available sooner, they might have been able to take down Moo. But Dragon Knight is a hard target to take down, and they keep forcing him out of lane. So even if they don't kill him, I think it's a pretty favorable trade for Navi. Up at top, Hao is having free farm.
Denied.
So he's about to pick up his Battle Fury. About one more last hit there. So he's gonna be looking at a 11-minute Battle Fury, which is pretty great timing for that. DD is up on Dendi right now. They're going to start to work on the mid-tier 1. Puppy, he's got his full set of creeps now. He's ready to start working on that. Vost, he's just spent his gold on a Vlad's, and there's a Blink Dagger available for Dendi now. Pretty great timing for Dendi. 11-minute Blink Dagger on a puck is quite solid. And that's going to make it that much more dangerous to hang around here in mid for TongFu. Pavo shows up, he's got his Vlads. This Vlads will also mean that it's really easy for Navi to push. Nice armor aura and lifesteal for Puppy's creeps. Mid-tier 1 drops and the map gets much more dangerous for TongFu. Also, I like this by Puppy, using the skeletons to provide a bit of vision. There's a smoke up here by Navi, but this was possibly spotted by this ward from TongFu. They're grouped up here, and they will smoke themselves. Will they walk directly into Navi? This is the question. We could have a big engagement here. They could also just entirely miss each other. All things are possible. Dragon form is available for Moo, so he can get that Dragon Tail stun off. Leading the way. Puppy needs to make sure not to get picked off, but the smoke is popped by Puppy. The net onto Moo. Will there be any follow-up for this? It does not appear so. Medallion is up on Kuroki as well, so his farm really not so bad. Phase up on Funnick. Now, he's completely skipped the treads here, and if he dies, it may be because Dragon Form popped on Moo. Potentially, there's the Surge. He's looking for a stun. There's an Invis on Dendi right now, however. And it looks like they'll just try to take out Puppy's creeps. But Vost can go to work on Roche. This is a bit of a pub play here. They hear the roar. Does Moo know this is going on, or is he just rotating mid? That roar does announce itself globally. I think Havost is going to be able to get this. One more overpower. Moo's walking straight in, and Havost will just turn on Moo. Moo can't take this fight versus Havost. Look at the damage. I mean, more Fury swipes. There's the Dragon Tail. Can Navi respond quickly enough? The Hand of God is available. Dendi shows up from behind. The Hand of God will keep Havost up just okay. The wall completely misses, as does the Split Earth, but the Mana Void from Hal will finish him off. Roche is fairly low, but I don't know that TongFu can take this. Sansheng gets finished off with a power shot from long range by Funnick. So it's a 1 for 2 with the buyback on Ursa, but Havost is returned to finishing off this Roche. So that's really a decent trade for Navi. And with that Aegis, Havost can basically do whatever he wants. And with an Ogre Club, he's gonna have a BKB soon. BKB is all he needs to go to town on TongFu, and will make him completely unafraid of the mana break from Hal. When it comes to 1v1 engagements, Havost can no chance for TongFu. Both Mu and Hal will drop to Havost. The Fury Swipes is just too strong. Mechanism just about finished on Puppy. As soon as he has that, I think the push will be quite strong from Navi, and TongFu will start to lose all of their towers. Hal's doing what work he can up at top, but
Radiant's top tower is under
Havost responds by heading up there. He will push him back. Havost is actually not necessary for Navi's aggression right now. They can make kills happen without him. How if he gets caught here by Dendi, it's a max level Waning Rift right now because it's a level 10 puck. He blinks over to the left. He's gonna try to get under the tower, but there's no follow up here from Navi. Dendi can't do it alone. Force Staff up on Funnick. TongFu group down at bottom is 4. Could look to work on this this bottom tier 1. Double damage bottled by Funnick as well. There's another thing about the Mirana Windrunner Ancient strat. You can get a bottle, and you can help your team out by just providing rune control for the top rune. And you benefit quite a lot from it. TongFu will try to go on this mid-tier, the bottom tier 1, but Navi, they have their eyes set on the mid-tier 2. And they also get the top tier 1, so even if they get the bottom tier 1, which they do, it's still a favorable trade for Navi. They get damage on the mid-tier 2. They stay in TongFu's jungle, which they have warded up, by the way. You can see these wards from Navi. This is kind of an interesting ward because it doesn't provide a lot of efficient vision, but it's just unlikely to be sentried, as is this ward. The top tier 2, this DD on Funnick really helps out with these towers. The Fortify gets popped, and TongFu doesn't look like they're going to try to challenge this at all. So Havost goes to town this tower, and that's another tower for Navi. How he's going to try to do this ancient stack. It's only 2 stacks, so it's not too hard. But they're headed up onto the high ground at 16 minutes into the game. They've got this Aegis still. Havost dodges the Split Earth. The mechanism is now available on Puppy. He's just picked it up. Very important for him. And these goddamn tornadoes are so annoying. Makes it so much easier for Navi to take these engagements. And they are providing a lot of time for Hao down at bottom. Goes in onto Hao, or to Mu. There's a nice Dream Coil onto 2 from Dendi. He blinks in, orbs his way out, but King J, he gets familiar stunned up, allows Havost to stay on top of him. The immediate buyback from King J. Havost, he's going straight onto Mu. The Aegis is about to get used up, but Hao actually uses his Mana Void on Havost. And he's getting torn up by these familiars. Hand of God was actually stolen by Sansheng, which is actually a really big steal. Havost needs to make his way out of here. He's dropping low, but there's a send back from Puppy, so he should be able to do this okay. There's a surge onto Mu. Puppy could be in trouble here. No mechanism for 18 seconds, so a few more right clicks and he will go down. However, Dendi jumps back in. Dangerous plays from him. Needs to be careful. And Hao actually picks up Funnick on the way out. So over aggression from Navi. Ooh, and a stun up on Dendi. Way overly aggressive. They don't even take the tier 3. They do force out a couple buybacks. Yeah, there's a buyback from King J. Okay, so 1 buyback. They forced out 1 buyback from King J, and that's it. Which is not too important for TongFu. The Hand of God steal from Sansheng was actually huge there. made a lot of those trades possible for TongFu. So Puppy's got to be careful about that. It is kind of difficult for Puppy because he's only got 3 spells right now. He needs to get a level in penitence just so he can avoid that from ever getting stolen again. Because I'm pretty sure that's what won TongFu that fight, or at the very least kept their tower from going down. Nevertheless, Navi, they're still... Ooh, Dream Coil misses from dendi. Tries to take out Banana, but no luck. Actually, I thought Navi had more of a lead here, but because of all the time that Hao has had to spend alone in these lanes, doing pushing on his own, getting some, not much damage. Thought he had more time to work on the tower, but no. So Navi needs to be careful. If they lose another dive here, they will be on the back foot, and they're suddenly going to be facing a very farmed anti-mage. God. Hao's looking at a 22 minute Manta style alongside Battle Fury. Navi will get the mid tier 2. Nice shackle by Funnick. Gets it on to Shanshang. This should be an easy kill. Blink in from dendi, but a Dragon Tail immediately from Mu. Dendi's getting bursted down, but the Hand of God and Mechanism will keep him up, and Mavos goes straight in like King J, so there is a kill here for Navi. Did Sansheng actually go down in that fight? That's what I want to know. No, he did not. I can't believe that Sansheng lives. But meanwhile, down at top, up at top, Hao manages to take the top tier 2, so there are trades here for TongFu. It's a lot of time spent grouped up from Navi, and it's not necessarily paying off. So they need to be careful here. It's another ancient stack going the way of Hao as well as Mu. He's got a DD here. Had it until a moment ago. And Navi is even aware of this. Like, they have a ward here, but they just aren't in a position to stop it quite yet. So Hao is just about to pick up his Manta style, so he can actually join in these fights and be relevant. The BKB is now up on Havost, used in that last fight. But without a great initiation for Navi, they need more than a one-person shackle. They need a multi-hero Dream Coil. They need a Waning Rift, silence onto multiple people, because the silence is really quite devastating for how TongFu wants to run these fights. Long ways off from any BKBs. Navi, they're investing a lot of time onto this gank, and how he's probably just going to TP out. Avos, will he find... He's going to find Hao, but not in time. A lot of wasted time for Navi. I don't know that it's really worth it to be ganking as 4 onto an anti-mage who can just blink into the jungle and TP out. There's no trouble for him to do that, and that's all time that Navi could be farming here and extending their lead. Avos goes more aggressive. Gets himself a blink dagger, wants to stay on top of people. But there's now a BKB up on Mu. Overpower slow is no longer a concern for him, and he can get his Dragon Tail up. And because it's fairly clear, the thing about Ursa is that he's just a big bullseye. It's always fairly obvious who's he going to go on to. Which one of the players on your team is most in risk of getting bursted down by Havost.
Radiant's bottom tower
It's all a problem.
Attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Roche will be back up in 1 minute, which could be a big boon for Navi, but down at bottom, how? He's going to get another tower for his team. And if he manages to get that tower, he's actually on the run here. Funnick, unless he lands a miracle shackle, he's not going to be able to take him down, so Navi should probably end this pursuit. Doesn't get the shackle, but I don't think that Navi can get there in time.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
He's going to be okay. But the bottom tier 2 drops anyways, so how, they may have spent time chasing him down, but he still ends up getting the tower for his team. This feels like poor decision making from Navi. This is one thing that sometimes happens with Navi. They get a little too caught up in their own style of play, and they're wasting a lot of time. You can see it in the gold lead. They had one, and now they don't have one. And they no longer have an experience lead because of all the time they spent grouped up together. And there's no reason for this. Navi could have taken just five minutes, split apart. Ooh, Hal's even got a backdoor this tower. He can probably do it, especially if he uses the Manta style. If he does this, they're almost going to be even on towers. And then what advantage does Navi have? Admittedly, most of the farm on TongFu is placed onto Hal. So everyone else on TongFu is kind of suffering for farm. But that's kind of okay for how TongFu wants to play this game. We'll see. Navi will take another Roche, goes fairly quickly, because of course they've got the Ursa, plus they've got the, minus armor versus Ursa. So good. Because of how hard he's hitting with the Fury Swipes. Moose stays down at bottom, he's still got his TP, and 4,400 gold after finishing that Manta style. So his next item is going to be up fairly soon, and that could be a big problem for Navi. If he doesn't, I think he has to get a BKB. And look, he's already starting to work on the tier 3s. He's getting more damage onto a tier 3 than Navi managed to do in their own push. And they've got to keep their lanes pushed out. This is a major problem. I think Navi, they're getting outplayed by one player here, and it's Hal. And Hal does go for the BKB. He recognizes the need for it. He knows that he can't actually deal his damage if he's getting locked down. So there's no point in getting all this farm. But with that BKB, he's in a pretty good situation. There's a Ghost Scepter and Mechanism now on King J, 1,100 gold on top of that, so his farm about 3 times as good as it was in the previous game. Banana, he's got a Force Staff. The Force Staff is really good versus Ursa. It's almost like having a Ghost Scepter, and he will blink straight onto Moo. Moo pops the BKB. Havos pops his own BKB, but he's now on the run. There's no follow-up here for Navi, and funny, he tries to get the Shackle, but he's just going to get murdered. Moo finishes him off with a Flame Breath. So, more over-aggression from Navi. They're starting to fall back here. Things aren't looking good. They're spending less and less time on TongFu's side of the map. Hal continues to free farm. Have they killed Hal this game? No, they have not. It's 103 on Hal's anti-mage. Navi have placed themselves into a very precarious position after getting a very nice early lead. Point booster on Puppy. Looks like he's going for an Ags. Interesting choice. Don't see that very often on Chen. Can Navi even make use of this Aegis? Will TongFu ever fight them head on? It's starting to look like the answer may be no, because Hal, he still has 3 more slots that he can fill up. 2 more slots. And he's farming way faster than Havos right now. Yeah, he's a full 170 gold per minute ahead of Havos, and nearly 300 XP per minute. Huge level advantage in favor of Hal right now. Level 19 at 26 minutes in. He's going to be 20 relatively soon. Navi, they finally start to split up a little bit. But is it too late? There's a Basher up on Havos, and I think this is a great item for him to pick up. Gives him the ability to deal with both Moo and Hal. But this is one of the things about Ursa. He's not a hard carry. He can handle. I mean, he can go one-on-one versus Dragon Knight and Anti-Mage late game. But I mean, look at his items right now. He's got BKB, Vlad's, Blink Dagger. None of these provide significant damage. It's all positioning. It's a little bit of extra sustain. And that's about it. No major damage items, no major survivability items outside of the BKB, really. Survivability in the sense of just having raw HP, because otherwise, through the pure auto attacks and even just nukes from TongFu, they can still take down Havost. He's just not that tanky. Personally, I think something like an SNY would be a pretty good choice for... Oh, wow. Look at his mana. Just get demolished. This is the problem of Blink Dagger on Ursa versus an Anti-Mage. unless you want to pop the BKB to stop mana break, you're never going to have mana. So I tend to favor the... I mean, Blink Dagger's great, don't get me wrong. And if Navi had succeeded in their intense aggression, then it would be totally worth it. But they didn't, and now Havos is sitting with a Blink Dagger that has no stats on it. And he's going to be running out of mana fairly quickly in these fights. Towers are completely evened up. Hao has been perfectly positioned throughout this game, and his timing has been just right. There's about a little over a minute left on this Aegis, and I think Navi want to use it. But TongFu, they may be ready to fight. They smoked up here. They're going to come around from behind. If they catch Puppy first, this could be huge. They need his Mechanism and Hand of God in order for this fight to work out. Mu pops his Dragon form. He walks in. Dragon Tails Kuroki. Mu, Hao blinks in. Big vacuum by King J. Havos is doing what he can. He's still got this Aegis. He's going on to Mu. He gets a bash. But meanwhile, Hao, he's taking out the rest of Navi. Havos is on his own here. There's Dream Coil by 3 from Dendi. Dendi, he's just getting murdered though. Navi, I don't know if they can do this. They have just taken a terrible fight. An absolutely terrible fight. It's 4-0 in favor of TongFu. They came in and initiated the way they wanted to initiate. Navi just looked like sitting ducks there, and they lose a gem to boot. Wow. Navi. I mean, you can't even put this one on any single player. It's the team play that's throwing this one off. Their decision making is not good, and the Ursa pick, as nice of an idea as it was, it's giving Navi no potential for a comeback here in this game. Nice double shackle for Funnick, and the Fortify will delay the push from TongFu. But can Navi actually stop them from taking racks? TongFu may not try to press their luck. They know that Roche is up in about 4 minutes, and they now have map control. So they should be able to take it, no problem. And they can farm up in Navi's jungle. They can increase their lead by quite a bit more. And Navi, they really thrive on teams that overextend even slightly. So TongFu will not take that risk. They will go for the safe play. I don't know what else there is to say about Navi's play here. I mean, they just didn't exert their advantage in the right way. They got overly aggressive. I mean, particularly that dive onto top. That's when things really started to go sour for them. No reason for it either. They could have just farmed. I mean, you really want to end the game in like 18 minutes? I mean, doing it once, you know, I guess they didn't do it in 18 minutes, so like 30. Still a very fast game. And yeah, two early games is great for Navi, but it just seems like Navi, they can't go for the best of 3 without giving up one game. It's like psychologically, for whatever reason, impossible for them to not give up a game. They're not completely out of it, but just when you compare the late game for both of these teams, Navi depended on getting that early advantage and making their aggression pay off, and it didn't pay off. They fed kills. And now they're going to be facing a 6-slotted anti-mage at 35 minutes in. No, it won't be 6 slots. It'll be 5 slots. Around 40 minutes in. And what are they going to be able to do about it? Ursa? No. No, you can't do it. Especially once that butterfly's up. Butterfly's just around the corner for Hao. Ursa can't do it. Dendi can't do it. Funnick can't do it. Who can kill Hao? Not many people. Now, if Navi get a great Waning Rift, if they get a double shackle, if they make full use of the Hand of God and the mech from Puppy, timing it just right, if Funnick farms a Sheep Stick. Ooh, Puppy, he's gonna get picked off here. Now, Havost, he actually gets a kill on Sansheng. Puppy will live. Wow, actually instant turnaround for Havost. There's a shackle on a Hao. Can they take him down? Pauses BKB and jumps out of the fight. So it's 2 kills for Navi. The Blink Dagger from Havost was the difference maker there. Wow, so 2 instant kills on these supports. They're still pretty under-leveled, however. Especially Sansheng, so he's going to be up in no time. It really looked like Puppey was going to get murdered by Hao there. Is that? That is, yeah. They just smoked on top of a ward from TongFu. So TongFu will not be worried about this at all. Now this could be a Roche for Navi. This is the third Roche of the game. They've got cheese. They finished a sheep stick on Dendi. A little ways away from the sheep stick on Phonics, so that's not going to be coming anytime soon. But they could take this Roche. I don't think TongFu's going to give it up easily. It's a dangerous fight for Navi, but I don't know that they have a choice. If they can get an initiation on TongFu, if they can catch them off guard, oh, Hovost. Oh, Dragon Form popped on Mu. He gets the Dragon Tail on Dendi. Dendi's immediately taken out of the fight. There's a huge vacuum into the wall from King Jae. And Hovost, he will not make it out. The BKB does not last long enough. It's 4 for 0. 4 for 1, sorry, in favor of TongFu. And that's a Roche, complete with the cheese. Yikes. Even if Puppey were there, that would not have turned out any differently at all. Wow. Well, taking a look at the gold graph now, it's about 10,000 in favor of TongFu, and it's going to be 14,000 experience after that Roche kill. What other items? I've really only been focusing on Hao here. It's the 4 staff on Sansheng, 800 gold for him. King Jae, Ghost Scepter for him, 3,300 gold on top of that, so he could have a sheep stick anytime soon. Mu is pretty close to finishing a heart. And Banana has 4 staff and Ghost Scepter. Two 4 staff. No, 2 Ghost Scepters and 2 4 staffs. It makes it that much harder for Ursa. I really feel that Ursa, I mean, I've enjoyed seeing him, and I think he's a fun pick to see. But you've got to have really reliable lockdown for him. I like the way Alliance played it. I also like the way Orange played it. Orange did it by picking a Bane. And that makes it very easy for the Ursa. He can jump straight onto the Fiend's Grip target or a Nightmare, drop the Empower. An easy Empower means pretty good chance of getting, ooh, another Ancient stack for Hao. Or Mu. Back there, prioritizing Mu here. I like this from TongFu. DK, take note. You don't have to give all the farm to your one position, particularly once he's got all of his items. You can give it to your 2. You could even give it to your 3. Or your 4. But that will allow Mu to finish his heart in just a moment, so. Oh, these illusions. The mid-tier 3 is already gone on the side of Navi. There's a cheese on Hao. There's an Aegis on Rubik. On Sansheng. And I don't know, feel like, I guess Mu was not ready to give up his bottle. Guess that's the rationale there, or maybe they just want more steals from Sansheng. And I mean, you can't forget the steal from Sansheng in that dive up the top. Stealing Hand of God, but really that's more of a misplay from Puppey than it is anything else, because I mean, what else is he going to cast if he hasn't taken any points of penitence? Absolutely nothing. So he's a sitting duck there, and he feeds the Hand of God. I wonder, I kind of imagine he'll never make that mistake again after getting punished like that. The heart's picked up on Mu. TongFu have all the elements of this recipe to win game 2 here against Navi.
Radiant's middle barracks are under attack.
And actually, they're going right under the racks here. Nice disjoint from Hao. Not that it would have mattered, it wasn't going to latch, but the racks, they're almost going to go down. I mean, I don't think they can stop this. Are Navi just giving up a set of racks? It appears so. There's a nice shackle onto Hao. But what more can they do? They 4 staff him out, and Hovost, he shows up from back. He kills Sansheng almost instantly. but he will go down. So taking out the Rubik, maybe not worth it. A big mana void from Hal lands onto 2. A Dream Coil onto 5? 4, 5? Great Dream Coil, but it's not going to matter. TongFu, they're here to stay in Navi's base. Dragon Tail onto Kuroki. He's gone down. Oh, oh, the murder. Complete team wipe. Navi. Yikes. 10 to 20, 38 minutes in. TongFu, you could call it a comeback. Navi had the opportunity to win this game, and they don't play their cards right. They get over aggressive, they feed a lot of kills, they feed the hand of God. And with the lineup they had, they didn't have a lot of comeback potential, and they really couldn't take any fights. I think TongFu kind of woke up, or maybe not woke up, but they realized that once they got that Manta style on Hal, like, that was the exact point at which Navi could no longer outright win fights. They now had to take them very carefully, and they got picked off a number of times. Unfortunate play from Navi here in Game 2, but they're still favorites going into Game 3. I do believe, because of how often Navi tends to bomb out for one game in these best of 3s.